Okay, so hello everyone. We're having yet another interview, and I'm very happy to have over Eric Vance Walton. He's a fiction author. He's a very reputable Steemian, so to speak, and a really good friend of mine since what, about 2 years, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah, since the Choose Yourself days
Oh yeah,
on
exactly. So
Facebook.
so I presume we got connected when I interviewed James Altucher on the podcast, and after that I had many people I connected to from the Choose Yourself Facebook group, which was he was really involved in that. So yeah, again, thanks a lot for taking the time and
You're
coming
welcome.
over. So let's start from the beginning. I mean, fiction authors all have similar stories in a sense that most of them didn't really start as fiction authors in the very beginning. So they drifted and pivoted into that eventually. So what's your backstory?
My backstory is I started in the early '90s writing poetry, and um, and everything just kind of morphed from there. I continued to have a day job the first 22 years of my writing career. So I just writing was more like a hobby
Mm-hmm.
for those years, and it was good in a sense because it really allowed me to build my skills and build my network slowly. And when I first started, it wasn't really feasible to self-publish.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of scammy, they would call them, well, they were publishers that would just take your money, charge these obscene fees,
Yeah.
and for to self-publish your book. So thankfully, Amazon came along, and now you can do all that stuff for free, which is great. So yeah, I started in poetry. I published my first book, which was a children's book, about 12 years ago.
Hmm.
And then since then, I've done about 8 books.
Wow, impressive.
Yeah.
So how was you said you were having a day job, and many fiction writers especially have this challenge of finding time to write because I guess writing fiction is more time consuming than nonfiction, probably, in a sense that you do more research, you need more time to get into the mood and all that stuff. So how were you managing your time with the full time job being on the side?
Um, it, that's the hardest part for me now because I'm right in the transition point where I'm almost able to quit the day job. So it's actually like working 2 full-time jobs. So I just published that book on meditation last week, The Perfect Pause. And at the same time, I've been working on the sequel to Alarm Clock Dawn. So my time is pretty, my days are just packed full of different things. I have to devote 8 to 9 hours to my day job. And then I come home and I usually write. Um, I, I write on Steam it for probably an hour and a half per day. And then another 2 to 3 hours is devoted to my book projects. So
Okay,
it's
so
been busy.
it is, yeah, it sounds so.
Yeah.
So you said you published your first book quite a long time ago on Amazon.
Hmm.
I guess the biggest challenge that the writers are having these days, any content creators actually, not only writers, but anyone who creates something, is
Oh,
the visibility. We end up in the very beginning, we're like people who no one knows, and
right.
obviously no one cares what you create since they don't know you, and you
Hmm.
need some time to get traction, to get visibility, to have people notice what you've done. So what was your journey in that respect? How did you end up managing that part?
Well, I think that's the most advantageous part of building your audience slowly. A lot of people, indie authors, make the mistake of jumping right in and publishing a book right away. But
Mm,
it's best to build your audience first. Even if you have 10 books worth of material, it's best if you take a year or 18 months to build your online audience first. So you have built in customers for your books. And I know that's a really hard thing when you're a beginning author. You want to share your
Very
material with the
impatient, right?
world, right? Right. But if there was any one piece of advice I'd like to communicate out to the beginning authors, that would be it. Just work really hard at building your audience first.
Okay, so how did you deal with that part? Were you, I mean, Steemit was not there back then, I presume.
Mhm.
So where did you go in order to build your online audience, and how did it go?
My biggest and best social media tool back then was Facebook. I had created a Facebook author page. That was before the days that Facebook tweaked their algorithms to make you pay to reach your audience.
Mm-hmm.
So I built an audience there of about 3,500 people, and they were wonderful to interact with, highly supportive.
Mm-hmm.
But then Facebook dropped that bomb of tweaking those algorithms. And I think that was maybe 4 months before I found Steemit. So that was a little depressing because I had worked so hard to build this audience. And they were making me pay $20 and up for every post just to reach the people that have already liked my page. So thankfully, Steemit came along and I was able to recover and migrate as many of those people from Facebook onto the Steemit platform.
Okay,
So it
so
worked out well.
okay, I see. So part of your existing audience came over to Steemit and became part of your Steemit audience that you're having right now. Is that it?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, and now Steemit is the platform you concentrate on and put all your audience building efforts at.
Yeah, definitely. It's become my primary social media platform um, because the engagement is so much greater, and it's a much more cohesive community on Steemit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, People really care about one another, which I really like.
Oh yeah, it seems to be quite cozy and safe environment based on. I mean, I've been there for 2 weeks only, so based on
Yeah.
my observations, that's what I've noticed, and it's very protective. I mean, people do protect the environment to stay that way. So I mean, I
Hmm.
had few people just spamming in comments, and I didn't even I didn't even have the time to deal with that myself. Many other people already sort of left comments and tried to sort of keep it spam free by itself. So it's really nice.
Yeah,
Um,
it's really great that way.
so you've been there in relatively early days, which I was as well. So when I was looking at my user account and I registered about 11 months ago, and
Uh-huh.
I guess the thing was I didn't really figure it out. So I sort of I looked around. It was a little bit uncomprehensive back then.
Uh-huh.
I had no clue what was going on. I thought it was yet another platform which is emerging, and then you have to deal with one extra on top of it, and I never really looked too deep into that. So what was your experience in the very beginning? So obviously you were there since the early times, and obviously it wasn't exactly the way it is right now. So how did you figure it out, and how did you get traction apart from the support you were getting from your initial Facebook audience?
Sure. Yeah. In the early days, it was a little bit different. My largest stumbling block in figuring out Steemit, and also the largest stumbling block when it comes to recruiting new members, is the cryptocurrency aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's so many people who don't even know what Bitcoin is, and then to try to explain a coin like Steem to them, it takes them a little bit of time to wrap their head around that whole concept. But for me, the easiest way to understand it was to actually make transactions. So when my post would cash out, I had to learn the mechanics of getting a Bitcoin wallet and signing up for an exchange. So once I did that, once I did a couple of transfers, and I think you kind of experienced this in the last
I'm
couple of weeks.
exactly in the middle of the thing, yes.
Yeah, but once you do a couple transactions, it becomes as easy as breathing. And And so if you can get people over that hump, then it's an easy sell to get them over to Steemit. And once they realize the potential in cryptocurrency to enhance their future, then it's a no-brainer. But that was my biggest stumbling block, and actually getting traction on the platform was tough at first.
Yeah, it seems
And,
like the way I'm seeing it right now, and obviously I'm in more like in observer mode than in the
mhm,
know mode for now. So
yeah.
for a newbie who is just entering the place, it seems like the discoverability aspect of it is a little bit tough. So
Mhm.
obviously, yes, if people who already have gained some traction share your stuff or introduce you, etc., starting out is much easier. But if someone just comes out from outside, doesn't really have an audience to bring in from somewhere else, it can be really, really tough to gain this visibility, to make sure that whatever they created out there is actually seen, right?
Yeah, it is tough. It's and the thing that I always tell people is try not to get too discouraged at first, because I was there myself. My first, I think it took me 2 months to gain traction and to really get noticed. Um, and it is frustrating to put so much effort into posts and then not have them seen or voted on.
Mm.
But my biggest piece of advice is just create good content, and also engage with other users, comment on their stuff, and really leave thoughtful comments. And then a lot of times, if you leave a thoughtful comment, people will follow you, and then you start to build your network. But yeah, that was probably that would be my biggest piece of advice for new users. And it's a great platform. It does take a while. We're seeing a huge influx of new users from all parts of the world,
Mm-hmm.
and we're seeing a lot of people who are leaving kind of spammy comments on people's posts, asking them
Yeah.
to follow them and like their posts and things like that. Um, that can sometimes work against people. So I would advise people not to do that, because usually it will turn people off and turn them away from their content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, definitely, I see that. I mean, this happened to me about basically 10 minutes before we started recording this interview. I posted
Okay.
something, and I posted it, and it was quite a lengthy post.
Uh huh.
Within few seconds, like 3 to 8 seconds, I received a comment saying nice post, follow me, and the username. So
Yeah.
obviously there was no way the person could have read the comment. So it was
Hmm.
just, the main reason was to drive me to follow the person, which I mentioned in the comment, and said that's the only reason I'm not even checking out your profile. So that happens. I guess it's that's the negative impact we're getting from other social platforms. I mean, on some social platforms, that thing works in terms of numbers. So if they
Hmm.
do it with 10 profiles or 20 profiles, eventually some portion of it will work out. So they
Yeah.
just use the same technique, I guess, which is really, really annoying. And I guess just being a douchebag online in general is a bad strategy, no matter which platform you are at. But on
Exactly.
Steam, it doesn't work at all. So, you shouldn't even try doing that. So, in terms of quality content, we talk about quality content on about all platforms, basically, not only on Steemit. Although here I have a feeling that the importance of it is much, much higher than anywhere else. But when we tell about quality content, what do we really mean? Because it's relatively subjective stuff. Um,
Oh,
so
definitely.
so when we say quality content for Steemit users, like usually, what it does it mean?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think it means a lot of things to a lot of different people. So I think if people just post things that they think are quality, they're going to find their tribe on Steemit. They're going to find their followers that think the same way they do. Um, it's good for people, I think. What I tried to do early on is develop a niche. So I started posting poetry and fiction. So I became like the poetry guy and the fiction guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think that works from all different aspects. We have people that specialize in travel writing. We have people that put food blogs up. I think it's a good idea for people to play to their strengths. What they have in their life that they consider themselves an expert or a semi-expert at, or even if they have interest in it.
Mm-hmm.
Write about that. Because when I talk to people about Steemit, I come across people in my daily life, and usually everybody has one thing that sets them apart from everybody else, just from their own personal life experience. So, like a good friend of mine, he is a refugee from Laos.
Mm-hmm.
So he's an American citizen, but he was born in a refugee camp before he came over. And so he has a very unique life experience that he could share with his audience on Steemit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody has a little niche like that that they can share.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that I don't know if this is the right impression or not, but I have a feeling I'm not a very open person in a sense that I'm not very comfortable sharing too many personal experiences or life
Okay.
stories with my audience. So I'm like more or less towards the neutral side of the things.
Hmm.
But on Steemit, it feels like safer or more comfortable to go into that side a little bit. I don't know what it is. I mean, what the reason is, but I mean, I'm posting now stuff that I don't usually post on other social media channels at this day, and I'm not even sharing it to those channels. So for me, it's like it has this aspect of having a safer community, so to speak,
Uh-huh.
and which sort of helps open up a little bit more than usual. So I don't know if you had that experience as well.
One thing I've noticed is I was that way in the beginning as well. I was a little hesitant to open up, just because the other social media venues are a little less personal, like
Mm,
you said. But one thing I found on Steemit, once you do open up and start sharing things that you're comfortable with sharing, people connect a lot more with your writing, and that's when your audience really starts to build, because people can feel that emotional connection through your words and through your
mm,
posts, and that's when people really they feel like they have an online friend through you. They feel like they know you, and they want to come back and read your stuff. So I think that's a huge key, just to open up.
yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. It's always easier to resonate with the person when you know who the person is and what the
Hmm.
backstory is. Definitely that helps. And I really think that interaction and engagement really helps in terms of getting your spot into the whole place, so to speak. So,
Yep.
so what is? I mean, apart from the comments, I know there is also Steemit chat and also some other places where people sort of, apart from physically gathering and making parties, do
Yeah.
interact together on Steemit. So, which is the best approach? How do you? Let's say I don't know. I mean, let's say I have few people who I see that upvote regularly, and I just want to say thank you or to connect and to find out more about the people. Apart from watching their feed and what they've written, what are the best ways to approach these people?
There's a few different options. There's Steemit Chat. I think it's called Rocket Chat. It can be a little bit buggy. Sometimes it'll go down periodically, and there are a few bugs with it, but it works, and it works well. Um, there are a few group channels within Rocket Chat where you can connect with many different people at once. I think there's a post promotion channel where you can post links to your stuff, and that's a much better way to do it than putting it in people's post comments, like we
Absolutely.
had talked about
Yeah.
earlier. Um, you get a lot more sets of eyes looking at it on that post promotion channel. And also, if you have a core group of people that you really connect with on the platform, I've done this, and I know a lot of other people have done this as well. Create a Slack channel or a
Ah, yeah.
Slack group.
Mm-hmm.
and then just invite them to that. And then you have a little core inner circle of members that you can communicate out with and share ideas and upvote one another's posts and things like that. So,
Okay. So
yeah,
basically, I think what I really like in the platform is the fact that it's very human based, so to speak. So it's about, apart from the good quality content, it's also about human relationships and about
definitely.
genuine human connections, which in online space very often with the time it's fading out on other social media channels. Many people are starting to, I mean, not LinkedIn is not the only place where people share their professional stuff. So we end up having Facebook with all these, business related stuff and all that stuff.
Hmm.
So I guess here the beauty of it is that it's based on the human relationships, and it does value the quality of the content. So you can't really, I don't believe, although you're the one who knows better, that someone who is just putting out an average stuff, just copy pasting from somewhere, will do good on Steemit, will he?
I think it depends on how well people network. If somebody comes onto the platform and they have decent networking skills, I think they could get by with average content. Um, but for the most part, I think the bar is a little higher on this platform than other social media sites. I think people tend to, number one, I think it's a really tech-based crowd, so they're well versed in technology and social media marketing and things like that. So they can spot scammy posts, and they don't have a very high tolerance for them. So I think that's one stopgap measure on Steemit that isn't on other social media sites. They're really a good majority of the Steemit user base is hyper aware of that kind of thing, and they don't put up with it. So, so
Which
yeah,
is
I
good.
think that's it is. Yeah, I think it sets it apart from everything else, and I hope that stays as Steemit grows. I hope that doesn't go away.
Oh yeah, I definitely hope so too, because it's one of, I find it to be one of the biggest advantages of the platform. Yeah, so I agree, because after my interview with Andrew, my audience sort of got back to me, and they really loved the concept. Some of them already joined, and first of all, they were really surprised that all these marketing gurus and online people whom they know never mentioned that, and didn't, most probably they don't know about Steemit either. And
Yeah.
second, they really loved the platform because, as you said, they told me exactly that. It's a nice place to run away from all these people who are promoting and spamming, etc., and to hide away and to have a cozy sort of place to consume content. So I personally love the aspect of the thing that the good quality content does get rewarded, because it's, we do, I mean, most of us, probably you had the same case, we were creating content anyway for years, so we're not doing anything much more different than we have always been doing. So I want to go back to your story and have you compare to when you were publishing your books on Amazon and you had the Facebook as your online audience platform. How did it work, and what's the difference if you had to compare it with your Steemit results? What are you getting here?
It's a very different result. I I made decent book sales before Steemit, using my Facebook author page and Twitter accounts and LinkedIn to kind of promote my stuff and build my audience. But the main thing that Steemit has done for me is I learned with my novel Alarm Clock Dawn. I was releasing that in installments last fall, and I learned a few lessons from that, and I applied those lessons to this meditation book launch. And what Steemit ended up being for me, what this book launch was, a sort of crowdfunding, um,
Mm-hmm.
a method of crowdfunding. And so I did 9 social media posts pertaining to my book launch in the 2 weeks leading up to the book launch. And what I found was those post payouts, not only did the post provide a buzz to get people interested in the book, but the post payouts paid for the book production. So essentially I ended up breaking a little bit more than even when the book launched, thanks to the Steemit post payouts. So it really was a game changer in that aspect, and that's what set this apart from other launches. My first novel was already out on Amazon a few years ago, before I posted it on Steemit. So it was a little different situation than this one. But for the sequel to my first novel, it's going to be called Truth is Stranger. And I'm going to try to push the experiment a little further with this novel. And I'm just going to release it in installments exclusively on Steemit to see how that works. So that'll be coming later this year. I'm really excited about that. I have that about 80% done. But with that book, I've woven a lot about blockchain and cryptocurrency into the book. So there's this group that is fighting the status quo in this fictional world, and they fund all of their efforts with cryptocurrency and blockchain. So it's an integral part of the plot of the second book. So it's going to be fun.
Well, I think it's a really good move. I don't know if you did it intentionally, but obviously, all the Steemit crowd is interested in cryptocurrency just because they're there. I mean, even I, who was not, ended up sort of, doing research and reading stuff just because of that. So I guess that, you have the fiction reader crowd covered anyway, and now you will also have people who are interested in cryptocurrency reading the book just because of that. So I think it's really smart move.
Yeah, that's the one thing about the platform that surprised me. It made me a huge fan of cryptocurrency. So I'm actually trading now, and I have accounts on a couple different exchanges, and I'm learning so much. And I really think cryptocurrency itself will be such a source of freedom for so many people. And that's another good thing about Steemit. It's a gateway to cryptocurrency, that whole world. So just about everybody I know who has joined the platform, they go through these phases. They learn how Steemit operates, they learn how cryptocurrency operates, and then it's just the gateway to the whole cryptocurrency community. And they learn how profitable and how much freedom crypto provides.
Yeah, it's really interesting in a sense that many people these days are sort of, looking for different ways to make money by doing what they love in order to gain freedom. But what I was like before coming to Steemit, I was in a stage when I was realizing that yes, we do quit our corporate jobs, and we end up doing what we love, and we make a little bit of money with that. But at the end, we end up hustling so much that it just starts feeling like yet another job, but without the stability of the salary, of the regular salary you're getting. So at some point you end up feeling like you're putting yourself from one place which was stable and very stressful to another place which is probably more stressful and less stable, which makes no sense. So now I guess it's like the second wave of people who ended up in this situation, realized that this is not ideal. Actually, what they were running away from, they didn't really escape completely. Now they are looking for something else that's coming next. So I guess this might be the right next thing to follow, probably.
Yeah, sometimes I can't believe that I was in the right place at the right time, but that's how I feel. Like everybody on Steemit right now, we're in the right place at the right time, because cryptocurrency is relatively, it's not even in the early adopter stage yet. So everybody here has the advantage of investing early and reaping the benefits of that role. So sometimes I have to pinch myself. I can't believe that it's happened, but
It does
I'm
feel
happy that it did.
completely surreal. It does feel that.
It
I mean,
does.
after after me posting few things and after my interview with Andrew, I was like, got into this rabbit hole, and it completely
Mhm.
sort of I can't believe this is happening. I can't even explain it to other people yet because it's
Yeah.
so surreal to me for now that it's very hard to that's why I'm talking to people who can explain it much better because
Mhm.
you do it much better. so so let's if you had to advise people who are just coming over, apart from creating consistently, because I mean we have to mention this, it's not like you can have just one piece of a thing per week or whatever. You have to really create a consistent amount regular content, right? Apart
Right.
from that, what kind of advice would you give? Like someone just joins Steemit, gets into this rabbit hole, starts the journey. What are the main basic first steps that he has to take?
Um, well, number one, of course, would be to create good content, work on building your network. Um, it does take a lot of homework to really understand the platform. Like you said, there is a rabbit hole effect there where you have to learn the whole cryptocurrency aspect. You have to learn how the platform works because it works differently than any other social media platform out there.
Oh yeah.
And it doesn't make it worse, but it's just different. So it's like learning a new language. You go through these phases where um, you don't know if it's all real or not, and that's my biggest stumbling block when I try to bring new users on the platform. Number one, most of them haven't ever heard of cryptocurrency because, well, I'm in my mid 40s, so a lot of the people that I'm bringing on are about my same age group or a little bit younger. So they have to wrap their head around that, and most people don't believe it's real until they convert it into fiat currency,
Yeah.
and then it all sinks in. But but I would advise people just to create consistent content, engage with the community, comment on other people's things, and show genuine interest and follow people who write about things that you're genuinely interested in. So your comments are real. Um, and then do your outside homework on cryptocurrency. Get a Bitcoin wallet, join an exchange, so you have a means to cash your Steam dollars out if you want. I think it's a great thing right now to keep the money on the platform if that's what you want to do, because I think there's a good future in keeping at least a portion on there,
Mm-hmm.
because the currency itself has a potential to grow.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to there's a book, and I'm going to grab it right here. It's right beside me. Um, I read this, and it was a great resource to understand it. It's called Mastering Bitcoin,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but it really does a good job of explaining the whole thing to the layperson in a way that makes it easy to understand. It explains blockchain and cryptocurrency and how it works, and so that would be the main points I would suggest to new users. Just be genuine, write about things that you're genuinely interested about, create quality content consistently, probably at least 5 times a week.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have to be regular, and don't make your posts too long. 1,000 to 1,200 words at the most.
Oh yeah.
And if your post is longer than that, you can always break it up in different segments and post that over a couple days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, completely makes sense. I agree about being genuinely interested part because this is not a sprint, this is marathon, and you're going to be, I mean, it will take few months at least to gain traction, which means that
right.
if you are not interested in something, and you're creating content on daily basis for months, and in the very beginning you may not even get engagement and people reading it, I'm sure you will definitely give up very soon just because of that. While if you are genuinely interested in the thing and you're gonna do and create stuff and get and consume stuff about the topic anyway, then it won't really feel like a burden to you, and these few months will be relatively easy to pass through, basically, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think the steep learning curve is really working to Steam its advantage right now, because I think that's why a majority of the people on there are genuine, because they have to put the work in to understand the platform. And if you're just on the platform to make money, you don't want to put the time in to learn about it. At least I don't think so. I don't think people if they're just coming to Steam it to earn money, then they're going to get frustrated. They're not going to want to put the work in to build their audience, and they'll just go on to another social media platform.
Oh yeah, because many are looking for easy money, and
Exactly.
it's very. I mean, it's very possible you're one of the examples of people who are making pretty good money on Steemit. It is possible, but no one said it's easy. So it's not really a magic button or a ready strategy that one can copy and get there the same results. So
Right.
it is absolutely possible. It is real, but it does take effort and time. So you have to decide whether you really want to invest that into it, or if you're looking for a quick fix, then this is not the place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Steemit would not be the place for those people.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, thank you very much. It was really nice
You're
talking to
welcome.
you. I hope
Yeah. Thank you.
that Steemit newbies will find this useful. At least I did. So thanks a lot for the interview.
You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity.